Hi, in this video you will deepen your understanding of exchange sacrifices by studying an example of Anatoly Karpov in his game against Yartarson, where he sacrificed the exchange in a very classical way using the motives of color exchange sacrifice for a pawn, and strong center. So let's have a look at this position. What is black aiming for, and how can white counter his plans by sacrificing an exchange and thus reaching an almost winning position? So having a look at this position, the first thing you might wonder is, can't we just take a pawn? But black is actually defending it in a tactical way as knight b4, hitting our queen, taking this pawn, and at the same time hitting our knight would regain the pawn. White would also be better here by restricting the black pawn mass with b5 when black is a bit tied down here, but still black is fighting, and there is an even better version for white to get a huge advantage. So it's all about this weakness on d4, and black is ready to guard it with c5. And if black manages to do so, then he won't have any trouble because he has a pair of bishops. He might kick our central knights around later. And also, after this knight needs to leave the e4 outpost, maybe this knight will jump into c3, kind of protecting the c5 pawn by standing in the way and also hitting the e2. So the c5 push must be fought against in no matter what manner, and we can try to do that. So maybe you have the idea that we might throw b5, as we have the idea if queen takes, we take here and we get this very important light square bishop. This may look reasonable, but at the same time black might also take this pawn here, and things are getting very messy, and I doubt that this is a very clear advantage here. So instead we could also try to sit here on c6 with the queen, right? Because after the trade of queens, the d4 is still hanging and it's very hard to defend. However, you should consider your opponent's resources, and he might hit our rook here with bishop to d7. And if the rook moves, then he will go c5 and equalize the game more or less. However, at this point, there's another option which comes in, which is captures, and this is exchange sacrifice. And here we need to kind of judge this move. Is it good enough? Isn't it good enough? We're just getting one pawn, but at the same time, we get a lot of control on the light squares. In black's camp, all those light squares, they are utterly weakened because he has put all his pawns to those dark squares here. And thus, he has a lot of holes there. And this is excellent for a knight because it will be very stable. It's very hard to kick him. And also we have support on the light squares. Meanwhile, black has this dark square bishop, which will not be able to fight back on c6. And we just dominate because we have given up a rook, but on the other hand, we have this knight and bishop for a bishop of the other color and the rook. So we're basically even stronger on the light squares, even though we have the less valuable pieces. And in this position, as always with exchange sacrifices, the key question you should always ask is, how good are the rooks? And obviously the rooks are pretty bad because there are no open files. There are some semi-open files, but some of them can't be used at all as the knight is so strong. And on the other semi-open e file, for example, there is no target yet, and we might just increase the pressure, maybe take the a7 pawn later. Also bishop e7 is under attack. We might strengthen our position with some moves like e3 and d4, I could imagine, open up this bishop so that our c6 knight can stay and dominate forever. So white actually has a winning position here. That's the evaluation. The reason for that is threefold. First, we get a pawn. Second, we get this superiority on the light squares. And third, the rooks are so bad, so they have no counterplay. And that's usually the key indicator you must always check. So let me know in the comments, what do you think about the color exchange sacrifice? Have you ever applied this yourself? I think it's a very powerful concept and very easy to understand once you have seen some examples. White is just so stable on the light squares, and the rooks are so bad that white is in no danger at all, and he can slowly build up the position, collect a second pawn, and then even being material up while being in exchange down. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe. Also write some comments. That really helps the algorithm suggest more of my videos and really helps me a lot. Really appreciate that. And I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.